You might be moving very far away from home when moving to New York City, but that doesn't mean that New York City can't feel like home. There are ways to make the city feel like home, and I'm going to share those with you in this video. Typically, as a New York City real estate agent, when I see someone moving to New York City and not liking it at first, typically I know that this is the problem, that they just haven't found their place here, they haven't found their group here, and they don't really feel like New York City feels like home to them. And I get it. It's not easy moving from another environment to New York City. It's probably very, very different from where you're from. But there's a couple things that you can do to really make New York City feel like home very, very quickly for you. The first thing is going to be putting yourself out there and making friends as fast as possible. Now, you might be moving to New York City with someone that you know, whether that be a partner or whether that be a friend, but most of the time people move to New York City alone. I did as well. And I do have to say, what made it better for me was making friends as fast as possible, putting yourself out there. Now, how can you do that? The easiest way to make friends in New York City is going to be through coworkers where you work. I would say that most people create their friend group probably from where they work. And even if it's not just with their coworkers, it might just be with people that their coworkers know as well. So basically just forming your friend group like that. Now, if you work at a place where you're either not in person with your coworkers or you don't have coworkers that you can be friends with, then the best thing to do is really look at activities and groups that you can join around interests that you like. So there are a lot of like sports leagues in New York City that you can join. So say like they do kickball, they do softball, they do things like that, even like bowling leagues and things like that. And it might sound a little bit lame. I've done a few of them myself before, and I am not a sports person, but it was a really good way to meet people and kind of also create a friend group. And it also doesn't have to be sports related. They do trivia nights at so many different places around New York City, and they do karaoke nights at all different places around New York City. And you might be able to just start going to some of these and meet other people who are also going there. You would be surprised at how many people are in New York City and are looking for friends just like yourself. I always say that no matter where you're moving from and what your interests are, you will always find someone in New York City that is like you because there are so many people here. Literally over 8 million people live in New York City. And that brings me also to my next point, which is just have a social life. There are so many people that move to New York City and they're so overwhelmed by everything that the city has to offer that they don't really go out and they don't really do much after work, and they kind of keep to themselves and maybe just watch TV at night in their apartments. You didn't move to New York City for that, probably. You moved to New York City to have the life you always wanted. So why not put yourself out there? Make sure that you're putting yourselves out there in your career in New York City. There's no point in having a dead-end career here. There's always going to be another opportunity for you. And if you aren't happy with the company that you're with right now, then put yourself out there and look for a new job opportunity. There's so many opportunities out here. And even with the rise of remote work, ever since the pandemic, that's even opened up more opportunities for people because now there are so many people that can live in New York City if that's what they always wanted, but their company doesn't even have to be headquartered out of New York City if they're able to work from home. So depending on your line of work, that can give you even more opportunities down the line. There's so much out there. But sometimes people feel really, really stuck in their career. And because of that, they get really, really frustrated with New York City as a whole. It no longer feels like home to them. One of the best parts of living in New York City is exploring everything that New York City has to offer. There's one pet peeve of mine in New York City, and that's when people live in a neighborhood. So let's just pick a random neighborhood. We'll say that they live in Gramercy in Manhattan. And instead of going out and exploring everything that Manhattan or even New York City as a whole, like the other boroughs, has to offer, they only spend time in Gramercy and have maybe their one favorite bar or one favorite restaurant, and they just go to the same places over and over again. I get it. And I'm okay with you doing that from time to time. But the problem is sometimes you might get in a rut, and you didn't move to New York City to be in a rut. You probably moved here to do all different types of things, but you might be used to being in some type of rut back home and it's comfortable to you. So try new things, go new places, go to other friends' neighborhoods and explore there. This is going to make you have such a better experience in New York City. Not only should you just try doing new things and going new places, but don't be afraid to try new foods and new activities as well. Now, I said before that I did a kickball league back when I was in my early 20s to make friends here. And I have to say that was definitely out of my comfort zone because I'm not a sports person at all, but I was willing to try something new to put myself out there and make new friends. What can you do that is new and different in your life? It might be trying new restaurants. It might be trying new activities. It's going to be different for every single person. As a real estate agent, I always advise my clients not to overspend on their monthly rent. And there's one reason why. In the beginning, when you're first coming to New York City, you're not going to spend a lot of time in your New York City apartment. You're probably just really going to be there after work to sleep and maybe spend a little bit of time there. The only exception to that is if you do work from home and you do want a certain space for you at home. Then I do understand it. But even so, if you don't want to overspend on your New York City apartment, there are co-working spaces here, a ton of options for that. And there are also really great coffee shops that I see people working at every day. You have other options here. It's kind of silly to overspend on a New York City apartment that you're not going to spend a lot of time in. So I actually tell people to save that money and use it to experience and live the life that you always wanted in New York City, and don't overspend on that apartment. And even when you have a rental in New York City, you can do things to your rental to upgrade it. Say if you don't have stainless steel appliances, there are actually like these sticker kind of films that you can put on an appliance to make it look like it's stainless steel. You could swap out your kitchen handles to make them look more upgraded and up to date. You can swap out doorknobs in your apartment, things like that, to really just make your apartment pop and feel like home to you. A lot of times New York City apartments are kind of ugly, I do have to say. A lot of apartments, especially when you're looking at a lower budget, they're just not really that nice. And I've lived in a lot of mediocre apartments in New York City over the years. And I did things like this to make my apartment feel like home. I got furniture that I really, really loved and made the apartment look better, even though the apartment was nothing great. So you can do these things to just make your apartment feel like home. And I mentioned trying new things and going new places, and I do believe in that. But sometimes there is a little bit of comfort in knowing that you do have a local bar or a restaurant in your neighborhood that you always go to. You might be familiar with shows like Friends or How I Met Your Mother. When in How I Met Your Mother, they had a bar that they always loved and that the friend group always went to. In Friends, they had a coffee shop that they always went to and the friend group always hung out at. You might be able to find something like this with your friend group. And it could be a bar, it could be a restaurant, it could be a coffee shop, whatever it is. This might make you feel a little bit at home. So when you're not having the best day or you kind of miss home, you might be able to just go to this place and feel some type of like security with it. So that is okay. I just don't like when people get in such a rut that this is the only place that they go to in New York City. But there's nothing wrong with having that go-to place as well while still experiencing other things in New York City. So I hope this helps you figure out how to make New York City feel like home. It's not easy to transition into living into New York City, but if you stick it out and give yourself some time and put yourself out there, you will make it feel like home. Now, I would love to know if you've moved to New York City already. Has there been any ways that you made New York City feel like home? As always, I just love hearing from you guys.